Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Cervantes Podcast. Joining me today to discuss graphic design, where she draws inspiration from, collaborating with luxury design brand Coach and the National Basketball Association, is graphic designer, blogger, influencer, and marketing major studying at Howard University, Rachel Motley. What's up, Rachel? How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. What was your first introduction to graphic design?
So I consider graphic design to be different from digital illustration. Right now, I am doing digital illustration more so, but in terms of graphic design, I started graphic design coming into college because I wanted to have some kind of hustle. I needed a way to make some money. So my summer before coming into Howard University, I just took some time to teach myself and kind of just took off from there. So it's been about 3 years now, and then recently I just transitioned into digital illustration. So
Okay, but like all your life you were painting or drawing or something like that?
I grew up, my dad is an artist. My mom was also really into like crafts, and so it was kind of just like in the family, honestly. Like that was kind of what we went to, just to, whether it was like spend time together, it kind of just passed on for my parents. So I've always kind of been painting a bit. I would say more so drawing. I started painting more recently because I feel like before I never thought I was like good at it. So I was like kind of scared to try. Overall, yeah, I've kind of been in the arts since I was like a little kid.
That's awesome. But graphic design is much more recent.
Graphic design is way more recent. That's like senior year,
That's
summer.
awesome. I like that. I like that because I think it's different. I think I see a lot of people on my timeline, whether it's like Twitter or Instagram, they're painting, they're drawing, but then like you go on your Instagram, it's like it's very relevant and like modern.
Thank
And
you.
I don't think I've seen that. I don't really see that much graphic design on my timeline or my feed unless it's like yours. So it's very interesting.
It's funny because that was like what some of the things that I was considering when I was like deciding what it was that I wanted to do, because I knew that I liked to draw, I knew that I liked art, and I chose graphic design because before I came to Howard, everyone told me they're like, it's a party school, like Howard is known for its parties, and I was like, well, that means that the demand is going to be pretty high, and so there was like kind of this marketing strategy behind it.
Okay.
So I kind of chose it specifically because of Howard's environment. So it's funny enough that it like actually turned out to be something that I love doing.
That's awesome. So like profiting off of like, oh, like I'm gonna go to a school with like a predominantly Black school
Right.
that's like has a heavy party culture. So I'm gonna make sure that my pieces reflect that. That's
Yes. So I
awesome.
used to do like flyers.
Okay,
Yeah, I used to do party flyers, logos,
that's
literally.
smart.
So
That's smart.
that's why I say like that's like more the graphic design route. And now I do a lot of like hand drawn illustration. So that's why I say now I'm a digital illustrator. I don't call myself a graphic designer anymore, but the two kind of go together.
The late musician and civil rights activist Nina Simone once said, "An artist's duty is to reflect the times." Is it important to you that your art reflects the times?
Of course. I think it's very important that my art reflects the times. I tend to think of art as like it's a way to leave your legacy, like even after people pass away, like we are only going to be here for so long, but I feel like as cliche as it may sound, art is something that lives forever. And so I think art is a great way to depict, what is it that you're going through? What is it that you're feeling at a given time? What's going on in your surroundings, and so
Right.
I think it's extremely important to depict um, art of your times because it's a way to, it's like you're kind of creating, you're depicting a monumental moment, with everything that you put out, with everything that you create, you're kind of solidifying it and making it like it's stuck in history now. So
Right. No, that's so true. I think you're because it's like when we go back and look at like this time period, the pandemic, or any time period in history, we look at like the politics and like what happened to a country, but we also look at like the art and like
yeah.
what were people crying about? What were people happy about? Romance, like there's a whole period in history called like, I think the Romance era in like Europe or whatever. So I think it's very important, like what you put out there, whether you're an artist or meaning like little art or like music or stuff like
Right.
that, or if you're entertainment like an actor, actress. But that's really important. And I think I think nowadays like people want relevant, meaningful
Yes.
things,
Yes.
and not just like throw it together like, okay, make some money off of it.
For sure. That's something that I think I had to realize, and I kind of struggled with for a bit, because I kind of felt like there was a point where I was just putting out content that I thought was going to appeal to other people. And I had to take a step back and kind of reevaluate things, because I was like, I don't really feel like a lot of my work has meaning. And so recently I've been trying to be more intentional about creating things that are important to me, or have a message behind them, have some kind of influence. So I think it's really important to not only inspire, but to inform, through your artwork. I think that's the great thing about art, is like you get to do those great things. You get to inform people, but with an aesthetic. So I think that's why I enjoy it so much.
Yeah, and I think I like that you have a blog as well. If you go to www.therealrtgame.com, you can see that she has a blog where you write about real stuff that people can relate to, whether you're in college, Black person, a Black woman. So I think that's also important to you. Do you like writing as well?
I love writing. I think it's a bit more difficult for me to find time to do so. Like, I should be posting blog posts way more, but the reason I wanted to make sure that I even had blog posts was because I feel like there's so much knowledge to share. I don't believe in gatekeeping knowledge. Like, I feel like there's enough for everyone, and there's some way for everyone to benefit. So for me, if I know something, or if I have a skill, like, I always want to pass that along. You never know who can, benefit from it, or what it will inspire others to create. And so I feel like that's always the motive. Yeah, I love having a blog post. I love writing. I just wish I had more time to do it.
Do you find, is it easier or like quicker to make your art, like the digital illustration pieces? Is it easier to do that as opposed to sitting down and writing a blog?
No.
Okay.
My digital illustrations, honestly, I've had, so like my NBA piece, for example, I sat in the same spot for 21 hours straight. Like, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
So depending on the piece, yeah, no, it's not.
No, that makes sense
Post.
though. That makes sense because you're very detailed if you like notice certain things.
Yes, I love detail. I'm very big on detail. I feel like detail is what makes or breaks a piece. And so I feel like if you look at any of my work, that's kind of the route I always try to go, is incorporating detail. I've been trying to like take a step back in a sense, because I just have a habit of overdoing things sometimes, I feel like. And I feel like it's very difficult to find a balance as an artist, and it's difficult to find a happy medium, because I feel like a lot of people kind of promote the narrative that in order for it to be true art, a lot of time and a lot of effort has to go into it. And I'm trying to learn how to create art that's simple. I'm very used to the detail, to the extra stuff. And sometimes I don't feel like my simpler pieces are still considered art. So just learning to just, I guess, expand my own definition of what art is and what it means to me is kind of like the phase that I'm in. But I'm so sorry. I feel like I got off track. To answer your question, no, writing a blog post does not take longer than creating my illustrations.
Okay. No, yeah. No, it's okay. I just wondered like, oh, like maybe one takes longer and then you kind of prioritize the other one. But I think they're both cool, and I think they're both necessary, because we want to like put a little sugar in the truth, or like we want to make make things palatable, and like you said, to inform and also entertain, like be able to do both. What or who inspires you when it comes to like art, or maybe just regular everyday life?
This is such a funny question to me, because up until recently, I've always felt like guilty about like finding inspiration from other people because I felt like I was like biting off of them or like copying them.
Okay.
And I have this book where it literally talks about like being an artist is like finding ways to like appropriately copy people, and it kind of like changed my perception. And
Right.
obviously you give people their due credit. That's something I'm very big on. You give people their credit, but it is okay to look at something and say, oh, hey, this just gave me this idea, and then to go with it, you know? I think that there do need to be distinct differences to a degree, but if you look at some of the greatest artists, you know, they were inspired by something. If you look at Basquiat, like he was literally inspired by the anatomy of our bodies. And I think like he ended up like breaking an arm or something, ended up in the hospital. His mom got him like a book having to do with like the human anatomy. And then he started to incorporate that into his art. So everyone has to find inspiration somewhere. Right. And like when I realized that, that kind of just completely changed my perception. And it kind of made me realize like it's okay to intentionally look for inspiration. And I would say the person that inspires me the most is Joe Freshgoods. He is a designer of all sorts. He literally, like, you go on his website, it says like, I don't have structure. He just puts stuff out when he wants to. And I was like, that's what I want to do.
Could you say his name one more time?
Joe Freshgoods.
Okay. That's dope. Like he doesn't follow anybody, just does him.
No, he just does what he wants. And he works with like all, like he just did a drop with like the with New Balance.
Wow.
Yeah. And I mean, and the marketing behind it, the design of the shoe, everything, like just down to the every detail. I was like, I'm in love with this.
Wow.
And the fact that
coming, or is he already like?
He's already established.
Okay.
He's definitely already established, but it was nice to see someone else who lacked structure, but knew how to profit and capitalize off of it. Knew how to leverage it and make it work for themselves, because I've always feared that for myself. Like I've always been like, I know that I lack structure. How am I going to make it in this world? But to see someone else who's been able to do so and to do exactly what I want to do, to work with different brands and to work with them on different projects, I was like, anything's possible. And I feel like ever since I took that approach, that's literally what I've been doing.
No, I think that's really cool, because you want to be open-minded. Like, oh, like there's an election coming out, let me do a Kamala piece. Sadly, George Floyd was murdered. Like, let me do a something that like pro Black Lives Matter, you know, Breonna Taylor, pro Black woman. So you want to like be with the times, keep people interested and stay relevant, but also not tie yourself down like between like four walls or whatever, like close yourself off. So I think that's really cool. And learning how to like you said, leverage that and like make money off of that too, because you know this is your career.
Yeah,
In an Instagram post you uploaded on August 21st of this year, it's a photo dump type post, and you have one picture of colorful post-its on the wall, and one of them says, what would you create if nobody could judge you? I wanted to ask you, what is your answer to that, if you don't mind sharing?
Let me just say, your questions are great. Like,
thank you. I appreciate it.
So great. I'm very impressed right now. Okay.
Thank you.
What? So I've always wanted to create a coffee table book. But I guess I've kind of just been like, oh, like, do I have the market for it? And what actually inspired that was like, I was in like therapy, and I was like telling my therapist that I wanted to create a coffee table book. And I was like, I just don't know. I'm a marketing major, so I'm like really huge on like strategy and everything, being very intentional about how I push things out. So I was like, I just don't know if I really have the market for it. Like if people are going to want to, you know, purchase it. And coffee table books can kind of be expensive. I don't know if college students, who I understand are my main audience right now, would be able to afford something like that. And I also was like, and what if no one likes it? And she was like, and what if no one likes it?
Right. You have to have that mentality.
I got so offended at first. Yeah, I got really offended. I was like, I didn't say it, but in my head, I was like, what does she mean? What if no one likes it?
What's she talking about?
I'm literally like, I have to, like, how am I going to make it? You know, like in my head, it just wasn't logical. But when I got off the call, I just took time to really reflect on what she said. And I was like, hold on, like, what if no one likes it? Like, if I could not be judged and I didn't know if someone liked it or didn't like it, like how would that influence my creative process? And so that's something that I try to ask myself now. So yeah, I would create a coffee table book, and I think it would have
That's
something to
awesome.
do with like music, possibly.
Mm.
Or maybe it would have something to do with like, I just got like a film camera, trying to learn how to use it. Don't really know, but I think it would even, I've been wanting to work on a project, do a coffee table book for like the spring semester at Howard.
Oh, nice.
Our spring
Nice.
semester is just like crazy. Like we have darties all the time. Everybody pops out. I mean, we have the band that literally like our band or our jazz band will come on the yard and just like play like the sax or
No,
whatever.
yeah, that HBCU life is
It's,
like it looks different. I can't imagine how it actually feels.
it's absolutely unmatched. And I was like, I would love to just capture these moments. And so I just thought that, what if I like made this into a coffee table book? I have a bunch of ideas for a coffee table book, but if I were to create something without judgment from other people or the fear of that judgment, it would definitely be something along those lines. And it probably would have nothing to do with digital illustration, honestly.
Oh, because I was gonna ask you, would it be a book of illustrations, but you're saying more photography?
It would probably, I don't know what it would be. Like, I'm honestly like, I'm interested in so many different mediums
Hmm.
that's really the only reason why I'm even hesitant sometimes to call myself a digital illustrator, because I'm like, I literally want to do everything. Like, I love photography. I love just sitting down and editing anything. Like, I love packaging design. I love that.
So, what do you do when you feel like you cannot create?
Cry. I'm just kidding. What do I do? Like, I can't create. Um, I've started like I'm so sorry. I've started like going like for like going out more. Something that I try to remind myself of is that inspiration can be found anywhere, literally anywhere.
Yes.
Like I feel like in the past I've tried to like look in design books or like go on Pinterest, and now I can go for a walk and like be in the grocery store and be like, oh, I could, turn this, oh, what if I did a campaign for like a certain food company? Like, I don't know, like literally just thinking of, and
Cereal, yeah.
right. What if I did something with a cereal box, like design my own cereal box? Um, when you start to look at life in itself as art, it becomes a lot easier to find inspiration. And so now I don't really always feel like there's moments where I can't create, because I know that there's a method and a methodology that I can use to find ways to bring me back to where I want to be.
I like that. I like that because I think you can, even with like just living your everyday life and getting inspiration from that, but also you could like listen to music, and I know some people like they see colors or
Oh
they
my
hear
gosh.
colors.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Do you have that?
Have you been reading my okay, give me a second.
No, that's crazy. Do
So
you do that too?
I have this Bright Ideas journal that I got
Okay.
from like this bookstore in New York City. Sorry. Um, and I was like sitting down and I was like thinking of ideas for things I wanted to do. And when I mentioned the whole music, what coffee table book,
Yeah.
I didn't want to bring it up because I was like, what if everyone's like, this is weird? But
No.
one of my ideas was to like do something with like music and like synesthesia, because like you just said, there are people
Right.
who can taste colors. There are people who can taste music and taste sound.
Yes. Yes.
So and I literally just got off a call earlier where I was talking to the person about incorporating synesthesia or trying to see if we can mimic it into the project. So the fact that you just said that, I'm like,
No,
like
that's
wait,
crazy.
wait,
That's
that,
crazy. No, because I was just
that
watching sometimes I watch like interviews to come up with like episode questions and
is,
just like to just take a break. And I know Billie Eilish, I forgot what talk show she was on, one of the late nights with one of the Jimmys, and she was talking about how she has synesthesia, and that Jimmy
really.
Fallon, I think he sounds like the color brown or something, and people were laughing. But I was like, oh, like, no, like, I don't think she's kidding. I don't think you would lie
Right.
about that. But that's really interesting. And I'm sure artists take that and use that in whatever art they're doing, singing, art, whatever.
I don't think that I have synesthesia, but when I think of like words, I see colors, like without a doubt. But I don't use those colors to code the word. I think that's where the difference is. I think it's natural to see colors as you or to see words as colors. I don't know if it is. I think it is because it's so normal to me. But I
Okay.
know for someone with synesthesia, it's like the word like there, it has two E's and maybe the
Right.
E's are green. So
Right.
they would
Yes.
see like a pattern of colors instead of the word. I think that's
Oh,
right.
okay.
So it's like they
Okay.
associate like words with colors. And so that they imagine that pattern of the
With that
color.
word.
Right, right.
Okay. No, that's really interesting to me. I've never heard of that just until maybe like last week, whenever I saw that. But that's really interesting. And I think that's
It's
why
a
some people might be very colorful in their artistry. Yeah,
okay.
like I'm sure, I wonder, like, he's kind of crazy, but no, I don't want to say crazy. That's rude.
Kanye?
Yeah. Yeah. He's very
Why did I know? I knew exactly
you
who
know,
you're talking about.
what's that word? Eccentric.
Yes,
I think
yes.
he's very eccentric, and I'm sure if you like pay attention to his earlier music videos, it's very colorful. Like, there's a theme, album cover. So I
Right.
wonder, maybe he has that, or maybe something adjacent to that.
I don't even know if he like plans his album covers or if he gives the artist like creative control, because I know like he's had like some of the greatest, pop art, not pop artists, but like contemporary artists on his projects, Takashi, is it George something? I can't remember his last name, but literally like top-notch artists. So I don't really know if he gives them creative control or if it's kind of his vision, but knowing Kanye, his vision is probably in there somewhere.
Yeah, like, I want you to go in this direction, but you're gonna actually make
Right.
it. Yeah, I'm sure.
But now that you say that, his covers are pretty colorful.
Yes, like
I never
Life of
realized.
Pablo, it's like orange and like those two very different pictures, and then My Beautiful
Yeah.
Dark Twisted Fantasy. That's very
Yeah.
that's a color scheme there. So it's like, I wonder, like, certain artists that are like, eccentric, they might maybe have synesthesia, or like maybe they associate things with colors, but it's not synesthesia.
Right, right.
So
I
yeah.
think that's where I am.
Okay.
I don't think that's synesthesia. I'm not positive. I'm not positive, but I don't think it is. I would have to do more research, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the greater artists, they did have two senses that in some way kind of intertwined.
Right. Right. No, because that's really interesting. And I'm sure it just makes the art better.
Yeah, I
you know?
agree. I'm sure.
Does music help you create at all?
Okay. Does it help me?
Okay.
Like listening to music?
Like, or do you, when you are making a piece, do you put on like your favorite album or your
Oh
favorite
yeah.
artist? Okay.
So let's backtrack real quick.
Okay.
A lot of the art that I was putting out, like in like January, I was going through some personal things,
Yeah.
and I would listen to the same playlist every single day. And I'm not gonna lie,
I'd be like that too.
I
Yeah.
still do. Like I still do. And it's like it's called my semi-simp playlist, because it's like not all the way like straight simpery and like simp music, but it's also not anything like hardcore. Like I'm like a very like R&B and soul kind of person.
Okay.
So yeah, I would listen to that same playlist because it was just like it was
It's like
just the
perfect.
mood I was in.
Okay.
And so I don't know if it necessarily like the songs weren't inspiring me, but the music definitely helped set the atmosphere.
My next question, what are some of your favorite projects?
that I've worked on?
That you've worked on. Mm-hmm.
So, I would say probably recently, my most recent one has been my coach project, specifically hand painting the bags.
Okay, I was gonna get to that. Yes.
So recently I was a part of Coach's Dream Week for 2021, and that was super exciting.
Yes.
Thank you. That was super exciting. I was able to create a motif that they were having printed on the bags, in addition to being able to come to their in-store location, their flagship location on Fifth Ave in New York City, and to go ahead and hand paint people's coach bags. And the reason that this is probably one of my favorite projects is because it really challenged me. I'm not a painter, so why they ask me to paint, I'm not really sure. But I wasn't going to turn it down because I was like, this is an amazing opportunity. Like, this is something that comes once in a lifetime. And when I say I was so scared, like I told myself I was going to like prepare for it and start like painting ahead of time. I ended up working on another project and I just didn't have time to do so. So I was like really scared going into it.
Okay. I was going to ask you, like, how did you feel going into that?
Yeah, I should have, and I was going to say I should have been way more prepared, but ironically, I perform very well when I don't prepare sometimes. It depends what it is.
Okay, I've heard that.
It depends what it is. And the reason I say that is because when I think, or just logically, when I think about having to prepare, I place so much more emphasis on the task that it can become very overwhelming for me. And maybe this is like particularly like within like my artwork. Like I'm not saying like, oh yeah, don't study for your test, like a big test and just pop out. But
Right.
for me, when it comes to my artwork, I definitely sometimes need to like convince myself that it doesn't actually matter as much as I think it does. And I end up performing way better. Like, I don't think that if I sat down, like trying to like practice painting, that I would have enjoyed it as much as I did.
No, I can relate to that. Like trying to, like, you have a big task to do,
right?
Trying to break it down, make it smaller. Like, oh, like this is not that serious, not the end of the
It's
world.
not that serious.
Mm-hmm.
I literally was like, people were like coming in, and I was like, you know what? Like, something else that I tell myself is like, people don't know like when you mess up, like they don't know what the outcome is supposed to look like unless they give you like a very like structured, like, hey, this is what I want, like to a T. But if you kind of have creative control, I always try to remind myself, like, people don't know what it was supposed to look like. People, they get what I give them. And not saying that I'm not gonna, give them my all and be on 10. It's just like, it takes the pressure off of messing up sometimes, because I'm like, this is more so in my control than I realize. Like, if you are like working on like a song and it's not a cover, but it's a song that you've written yourself, and you're so torn between, I don't know which way to go. Should I, cut this verse out? People don't know what that other verse was supposed to sound like.
Unless you say it.
Yeah. So that's kind of how I view my artwork. I'm like, you know what? Like, they don't know what this project would have looked like if in my mind I did not do what I consider to be messing up. So life is about reframing things. It's about learning to reframe things. And sometimes you have to stop looking at things as a mess up and just be like, it's a change. It's not something that was necessarily a part of my original vision, but I'm still willing to adapt and to go along with the flow.
Right. Like we always hear, like, it's not a failure, it's just a lesson.
Yeah.
Yeah. And during that coach experience, like, you didn't have the luxury of like designing the bags and you pop out and then display. You were making them on the spot, right?
I was making them on the spot. I tried to like give people like a couple examples of like, or ideas of like things that they may want to get done. Some people came with ideas themselves. Like one woman, she wanted like lemons, Sicilian lemons painted on her bag.
Okay.
And I'm like over here like, Sicilian.
What that look like? Are those different?
Honestly, it ended up being like one of my favorite little like projects. I was like, oh, this is cute. Like, she got some good taste.
And you didn't even know until that moment that you enjoyed that. So
yeah. And sometimes we will talk ourselves out of opportunities if we, think that it's that big of a deal, or if we don't have that confidence within ourselves already. And if that confidence isn't instilled, taking something so serious will sometimes cause you to back out of it. I was actually going to back out of the NBA.
Wow. Oh my God.
Yeah. So I heard about it. My friend reached out to me. She was like, hey, like the NBA is like looking for graphic designers. And I was sitting there. They originally told me or the person that referred me was like, I think they want them to do like logos or something. And I was sitting here, I reached out to my friend Rakaya and I was like, I hate logos. I'm not about to sit up here and do a logo. I don't care how much they're paying me. Like, I just don't feel like my work is good enough. I don't feel like my logos would be up to par to work with the NBA. And she was like, girl, just see how it goes. just go ahead and see how it goes.
You need that one friend. Yes.
Like, honestly.
To just
I hopped on the call and he's like, you can create any kind of art. And I was like, bet, like, say that.
Wow.
So he literally, I'm not gonna say his name just out of respect, but absolutely probably one of the best professional contacts that I've ever just come into contact with. Like, he's amazing. He was so diligent in making sure that the artists were comfortable, that we understood what was going on, giving us feedback, checking in with us, keeping us up to date. And that for me was like the first like real example of like what a professional relationship can look like. So now whenever I do like another project, I like follow up with him like, hey, I just want to show you like what I'm working on right now. And it's just been great to like cultivate that relationship. But yeah.
What has been your best-selling piece?
Ooh. My best-selling piece was my limited edition triple Jordan 1.
I love that. I was trying to save up and try to buy one. And then I saw you posted, oh, it's sold out, no more. And I was like, oh. But yeah, those were so nice. I would have put it right here.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
It's so funny. Like, my friends call me sometimes and it's like in the background. And I'm like, you're lucky you caught that, because
that's limited edition. You only made a certain amount, but those are so good.
I only had a certain amount. That project, that or the toffee collection. Like the toffee collection, it was like the all brown 4 different pieces. So I had like the girl's hair, the jewelry,
yes,
the grills,
super detailed and shiny. Yeah.
Yes, very not flamboyant, but just very they were loud. They were very loud. They were loud.
Yes.
And so that one also performed very well, but it was really because of the preparation that I, used to market it. And so I was the toffee collection, for example, I was marketing ahead of time. So I was literally like posting as the weeks went through before the release date, sending it to people, going like finding like hashtags where like people are looking for art for their room, typing in keywords on Twitter.
Right.
Like
all of that stuff.
Nitty gritty. And just using all those different techniques and those different ways to market my product. And so when it was time to release, I mean, the first hour, I was like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, what?
Yeah, your phone must have been blowing up, like email, DMs, the comments, and the actual
on Squarespace and through PayPal, like the notifications were just coming through. I was like, crazy.
It's like, wow, all these shipments I have to do.
Yeah. Well, so the triple Jordans piece, that was probably the craziest one because I didn't have a thermal printer yet. So I was like printing the labels and like cutting them out myself and taping them onto the rug. I'm sorry, what?
Do you have a picture of you holding on your Instagram all of the things that you're talking about right now? I don't know the name.
Yeah, I do. On my Instagram?
Yes.
Yes.
You're holding it in like, doing
yes.
Okay, I don't know the name of it, but I know what you're talking about.
So I don't know why I can't think of it, but the storage that I used to send out my my art prints, I didn't just have labels to slap on, and I was like packaging everything myself. And at that time, I didn't even think of like plastic films that can go over the artwork. So I'm like wrapping everything with like brown paper and like writing people
Oh,
notes, trying to keep track through a Excel sheet, like who ordered what, like
right.
that was
Inventory.
crazy. It was the most crazy experience ever. But like when it was all said and done, I was like,
You
I
did
love
that.
it. Like I literally love this. It was nice to like just see the fruits of my work and to see everything come together. So those are definitely like the best, the highest performing ones.
No, yeah, I'm not surprised. Those are really good. Those are, and like the way you drop stuff, it's like someone dropping an album.
Oh,
Like
thank-
the way
oh,
you
wait, that's like
yes, the
so
way you like
nice.
market it, and like you don't like overdo it, because I think sometimes people post things too much.
Mhm.
But you kind of like, okay, like you'll post and then you'll like remind us.
Right.
And I think also being like your insights. When are people online? When are they what hashtags are they looking at? Because we don't all have the luxury of dropping at 12 o'clock at midnight like Beyonce and just
Right. Everyone's going crazy.
right, like, oh my god, this album, we have to post at a certain time, certain creators and
Yes.
content, yeah, we have to, and use certain hashtags, and try to remind people like, hey, like I have this, like buy this please. Swipe up links, all that stuff. So
I think you just stated a major key is like a lot of people are scared to ask for help. A lot of people are scared to ask for support. And something that I'm learning in this process is that you cannot be scared to ask for support. And you'll never realize like how long of a way you will go if you just ask. And it's difficult. You have to put your pride aside. We can get kind of worried about annoying people, or what if they say no? What if they have no interest? What if they say no? What if they have no interest? Like life is going to go on. There's going to be another person that does appreciate your art for what it is. And sometimes people are just busy, and
yeah,
it takes reaching out and being like, hey, I just dropped this, or take a look at it. Feel free. Something I'll say is like, feel free to share it with other people, because it may not be something I like, but maybe it's something that my friends will like.
right,
So calls to action are so important. You have to learn how to use calls to action. A lot of times you just have to ask someone to do something and they'll be way more willing to do it than you think they will. And until you're at the point where you're established and you're an established artist of whatever sort it may be, you're going to have to ask for that help. So
yeah,
that,
and that's the business, that's life, and I think that's also the business that we're in, the field that we're in.
yeah,
Hey, can I interview you? Oh no, okay, on to the next.
right,
Like I can't
right,
dwell
literally,
on it, not
literally,
take it personal. And hopefully they could come around next time, but there's so many
yeah,
people to talk to. With you, it's like, can you please repost this? If you don't want to, okay, it doesn't really take that much.
right,
But
right.
but it's like, okay, that says the type of person that you are, not promoting my stuff, and you're my friend, like what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, certain things I don't even like take personal for real. Like, I feel like now I'm at the point where it's like social media honestly doesn't really matter to me. Like, it does to an extent, but not in terms of how I view like close relationships. Like, I don't,
Right.
I'm not like, oh, this person unfollowed me. Like, why do you hate me? Like,
Right.
for me personally, like my social media is like a way for me to not only promote my artwork and to connect with people, but also to find inspiration. And so something I always say is like, with all due respect to everyone, but if I'm not able to find inspiration from you, I don't really see the point of having, you know, someone on my timeline. And I genuinely say that in the most respectful way, but social media can really just drain you so much. So I feel like it's very important that you're intentional about what you're taking in and what you're feeding yourself. The same way that you're gonna be purposeful about what you put in your body, you need to do the same about what you're taking in visually and what you're analyzing in your mind and so forth. So
I totally agree. I totally agree. Because I think when we were like when Instagram first kind of came out, like high school, middle school, our timelines probably look very similar.
yeah, it
We're
was
seeing
like
the
follow
same
my
type of
friends.
right. We're
Yeah,
seeing the same type of celebrities,
yeah,
same type of friends at school. But now our timelines, I'm sure, are completely different. For you, it's
Exactly.
probably artwork and Black women and curly hair and skincare
Yeah,
and all like certain things. My
literally.
timeline might be something else, and that's okay. And I think
That's okay. That is okay.
just because I don't follow you doesn't mean that I don't hate you. I hate you. I
It
have
doesn't mean that I don't like you. It's like,
It's not that deep.
it's
It's
not.
not that deep. And
And
I remember being like, younger Cervantes, like, oh my God, like what happened? Did I say the wrong thing? Like, do I have
right.
beef with this person? But now it's just like, okay, like I don't need to, social media is not real life. Like it kind of is because we
Not
want people to speak on important things like why haven't you posted about like Black Lives Matters or
right.
important cause, but at the same time it's not everyday life. Like there's a whole world to live.
And we lose sight of that sometimes. We just
Yeah.
get so caught up in the fact that this is something we spend so much time on, and we fail to realize that there is so much outside of this bubble. And I think my other thing is like, I think for a long time with social media, I struggled with comparison and comparing myself to other people. And, why am I not in that season of my life yet? Why haven't I accomplished such and such? And I don't know, I can't remember where I read this, but I remember someone being like, people post their best moments. So
Yeah.
naturally,
It's a highlight reel.
yes,
It's a highlight
exactly. So
reel.
naturally, you're taking in all of everyone's accomplishments. They've
At a
reached their
party,
goals, or at a party, like
relationship goals. Yeah.
and their highlights. And so it can just warp your perception about what life is and what life is supposed to be. And so I think even understanding that, once again, going back to the fact that social media is not real, like it's not, like you have to take it with a grain of salt, but it's definitely a tool that should be leveraged, but leveraged appropriately.
Right. No, I completely agree. I think people could really resonate with that, especially our generation, content creators. Yeah, like don't, because we kind of need it in this digital age, but
Yes.
let's not get carried away. Like
Let's not overdo it.
yeah,
Right.
exactly. My next question. So there's Zendaya, Rihanna, Naomi Campbell, and then there's Rachel. What I mean by this is that I don't think I've ever seen you in a bad outfit.
Oh,
Were you
thank
always
you.
yes, were you always into fashion?
Yes, I always have been into fashion. I don't know what it is. It's like when I got to Howard, it kind of like transitioned into like business, like casual a little bit more, because I was in school of business and we had to dress up like every Tuesday, Thursday. So I
Oh
kind of like
wow.
started like, I grew like this love for like business casual clothes. Like I love me a good suit. I love me a good suit,
Same.
but not just like a conservative like black or blue suit. Like I love, like I have like a striped, pinstriped one. I have
Well,
like a
it's kind of like Clueless
suit.
vibes, right? I think I've seen it.
Yeah, I
Yes.
like to dress blazers up. I feel like there's so many ways to just incorporate like street style with business wear. And I feel like that's kind of like where I am right now. Like that's my happy medium. Like I could show little skin and still like show up how I need to, and
Right.
uh,
Being able to mix both.
yes. And that's what
Mhm.
I appreciate so much about being an independent artist is like if I were going to an interview for like Deloitte, like I'm not gonna go in what I wear. I'm gonna go in like a conservative, suit, maybe a skirt and a blazer. I went into Coach and I was just wearing whatever I want to wear. And I was like, I love this. Like, I literally love this because not
Right.
only am I creating my own artwork, but I still get to express myself through my style and the way that I want to. So it's like I get the best of both worlds, but I've always loved fashion. It's definitely like transitioning more right now. I don't really know. Secret, I don't really tell a lot of people this, but I
Oh, okay.
I want to start a suit line at some point in my life.
Really?
Yes,
Watch out, Hugo Boss.
I, I want to start a women's suit line at some point in my
Oh,
life because I just love suits. Like I feel like you can dress them down, you can dress them up, like they can be casual, like blazers can be casual depending on how you dress them. And
yes.
so I feel like just with the history of suits and the fact that they used to literally the reason why they incorporated shoulder pads into women's suits back in the day was because it emulated a man's broad shoulders. Yeah,
Oh,
right.
okay. I didn't know that.
And that was representative of power. And so that became a very popular trend within the suit industry for women. Obviously, that's died down now, but just really analyzing like the trends behind suit wear and how it's affected women. At some point, women in pants, wasn't acceptable.
Right. They need
And
to be in a
so, in a
dress.
way,
Yeah.
right. And so, in a way, seeing a woman in a suit for me is just like, it just screams power. Like it just really, it screams power. And it's just what it represents to me is what makes them so fun to style, and really just like adds to my love for the apparel itself. So I would love to open up or start a suit line. I would have to like learn about fashion design a lot more than what I know right now, but like that's like one of my dreams for like down the line.
Thank you. Next question. So back in August, the Coach Foundation, which aims to support global philanthropic initiatives focused on community to help create a better future for all, had its first ever Dream Week, where Coach is committed to providing 5,000 scholarships by 2025 by partnering with nonprofits around the world working to address inequities in higher education faced by underrepresented students. To celebrate Dream Week, Coach worked with 6 artists, one of them being Rachel, to create exclusive Coach Create motifs inspired by Coach's Dream It Real students. I wanted to ask you, you kind of touched on this already, but what was it like collaborating with Coach?
When I got the email, I thought it was a fake like spam account.
Oh my God, really?
Because I was like, Coach, like the Coach?
The brand?
Like the Coach? So when I saw the email, I was like, I don't think this is real. So I literally I found the women who'd signed off of it. They signed their name at the bottom with their position where they work with. So I'm literally like over here on LinkedIn, like looking her name up.
Trying to find her.
One thing I'm gonna do my research. So I'm like over here, like looking her up, all this stuff. I was like, hold on now, she's actually
it's a person.
It's a real person. I saw that over what do the people say, that it's so important to have your 500 contacts on LinkedIn?
Yes.
I saw that. I was like, okay, she's good. Like she's legit, and then I saw that she actually does work with Coach, and I was like, wow. So it caught me off guard, to say the least. But
no, when I saw that on my timeline, I was like, Rachel's doing big things.
Oh, thank you so much. It still feels surreal, honestly, but it was such a fun experience. Like even just going into the shop after the pandemic. Well, we're still in the pandemic, but after, it's just taken a toll on so many people, and we've been so deprived of social interaction, and that like being my first like step out for real, I was like, I'm living free.
That is amazing. Like that is a huge global brand, and not many people can say that they have worked with a major global fashion house. And I think that part, like, okay, like, oh, like I'm in the right field.
Right.
I'm okay. I'm not, maybe because I know sometimes we could feel insecure, like, oh, like maybe I'm not the greatest. Yeah. But like, I may not be the greatest, but I'm pretty damn good if Coach wants to work with me.
Right. And it was kind of just like, I was like, you know what, at the end of the day, like I have to deliver, and I have to deliver something. And I'm just also very thankful that they didn't count me out, because I'm not really sure how they found me, but it was after the NBA.
Okay. That came first, then Coach.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if they saw it first, but the reason I said I'm glad like they just didn't count me out was because at the time, my portfolio, I don't really feel was as diverse as it is now. I think I did a lot of material having to do with HBCUs, having to do with Black people, which is in no way a problem. I think that it's very important, to depict those things. But I've always said, I literally want to draw anything or whatever comes to mind. So it's not always just about HBCUs for me. I love doing, don't get me wrong, I love my HBCU projects, like love them.
Right.
But even finding ways to branch out, like recently, like I just did like the LeBron and for the Space Jam piece.
Yes.
That's not within my normal bounds, that's not really within my playing field normally. And so it's not that it was necessarily a risk for me, but it was just different. And it was a way to diversify my portfolio. And so I was just saying that all to say I'm glad that that coach was like, she would still be fit for this initiative and for this project, despite the fact that a lot of my work had nothing to do with what they were asking me to do.
No, that's important because you were now putting your pieces on purses and like handbags, right?
Yes.
That's different. And that's cool. And that's like a new thing that you can put in your portfolio. Like, oh, I've done this. And it's like, oh, she's really diverse. Her pieces are very different.
Right. Something that I made a vision board for 2021, and I like put one of my I digitally framed one of my tweets and like put it on my vision board. But it was just talking about the fact that I don't ever want to do the same project twice. I don't ever want to put out the same thing twice. And I want my project to be exclusive.
Like, I got the Rachel sneaker piece, or I got this piece, you don't have it. Like,
so I do have pieces as to where it's like they're always going to be in production through my shop, like anything that I sell in my shop. But when it comes to working with other brands, like I love that exclusivity, that limited feel behind it. And
if you weren't there at Coach in NYC,
literally,
don't know to tell you.
And the bag, it's actually, the motif is available up to September 9th. So after September 9th, like they'll no longer be printing my motif. But I was especially excited because I was like, this is, okay, I worked with the NBA and I did a graphic for them, but like now I'm like working on, like you said, like a fashion house and working on their bags. And, this is accessories, and I can't go into detail, but I'll have something with footwear coming out next week. So
I'm so excited for that. I feel like I think I guessed on your question thing.
Yeah, you did.
Like Nike. But I know you can't say. But I was just like, oh my God, like
when is this? When are you putting this podcast out?
Next weekend.
Okay.
Next weekend, but I was like, oh my God, like I feel like I know what it is, but I know.
We'll see.
We shall see. But I'm just so happy for you. I think those are two major companies that you worked with, and I feel like that it really, you were already good on your own, but I feel like that kind of solidifies you, and it kind of
definitely
adds to your resume, and like, oh, she worked with these, oh, I'm gonna work with her now, like I'm next.
If everything goes through, I'll be painting my first mural soon. So it's like, the reason I brought that up was just to say, like, I'm not doing like any of the same stuff like every single time, like I'm painting here, I'm doing something with footwear, I'm working with an accessory brand, like kind of just all over the place. And that's like exactly what I wanted to do. Like I never wanted to be boxed in and kind of housed into like one industry. I've always wanted to offer my own creative resources to various industries. And so I have so much gratitude for the fact that I've been blessed enough to actually do so.
No, yeah, that's like a dream come true. And I'm sure there's dream brands that you have that could be working with you right now.
Birkenstock. Like if they sat me down and were like, you can design a shoe, I would go crazy, because I've been wearing Birkenstock since like 10th grade. And like people used to clown me for it because I would not take those shoes off. Like I would wear my Birkenstocks to gym. I wouldn't even wear my sneakers. Like I have a video of me like talking to my gym coach, and he was like, you're not playing in those Moses sandals. And I was like, why not? Like, please, like, just let me play. Because I didn't get credit for the day, but I was not going to wear no other shoes. And it's like walking on
super comfortable. I have them on right now. They're super comfortable.
I get a new pair for my birthday every year. Like, I just love that brand. And I know that it's a German brand, so I'm not really sure like how that would kind of happen. And I feel like I'm not established enough to like actually have a collab with them. But I always say like, that's like weirdly like my dream collab. Like I feel like that people would be like Nike, Adidas, and like those are amazing brands. Like, do not get me wrong. I don't know what it is. Okay, I don't know what it is about Birkenstocks, but I just love Birkenstocks. So I think I think dream collabs would be like Birkenstock, Nike. I don't know what, but I would love to do something for Kanye. Like, I don't know what, but I just think that man is a creative genius. I would love to do something for Kanye.
Wow.
And Joe Freshgoods, like Joe Freshgoods, like I said before, if that man was like, look, I like to freelance. I don't really like being on like people's like teams for real, because I feel like it just takes away my creative power. But if Joe Freshgoods was like, hey, like come work on my team, like I'm dropping everything. Like I'm there.
Back in February, the NBA All-Star organization had a HBCU student showcase that featured Rachel and 6 other college students from different historically Black colleges and universities who created artwork depicting their experiences as HBCU students. The students selected themes representing HBCU student athletes, dance lines, bands, and school legacies as inspiration for their creations. What was it like collaborating with the NBA?
That was an amazing experience. I don't think only thing that could have made it better was being able to go to the game, but COVID precautions were in place. So I was able to fly down to Atlanta. So that was a bit of a disappointment, but I think everyone made the best of the experience and of the project. And they were just adamant about giving us our credit, making sure that we were in a place that was visible and that people knew who we were. So it was just cool to be on what is it called? Like the Jumbotron or something.
Wow, you're on the Jumbotron. Wow.
That was really awesome. Cool. My work was on CNN because of the NBA. So they were just amazing. Like the team was great. They did work us. We had 4 days to
Oh wow. Okay.
That's a
and
short.
Coach gave you how long?
Short timeline. My turnaround be like 2 weeks for project.
Right.
They gave us 4 days. It was like they needed it quick because it was like the whole COVID thing going on. But
did that put a little bit of pressure?
It put so much pressure on it. I think I went through 3 different drafts. Yeah, I started off with one draft or one concept, and then I scratched it and was like, I hate this. So I came up with something new, and then I was like, I hate this too. And mind you, I'm like, okay, I get 4 days. That's already 2 days down. So I'm like, yep. So I'm trying to figure out something. I have 2 days left. I came up with a draft, went down and put the color in. Hated the way I put the color in because I did like kind of like a flat illustration instead of like outlining everything. And there was a lot more structure rather than my kind of cartoon style. Right. And I was like, I hate this. I hate this. I hate this. I hate this. I was like, it's just really giving like elementary. Like it was also the colors, color that I was using. It was everything combined, but I just hated it. So that was my 3rd draft. And I went in and I scrapped that again. And I used the framework of that one for the one that I ended up going with, but I had to completely redo it. And so my 4th day, I sat down and I worked for 21 hours straight and got that out the way. And when it was done, I went through like the worst crash ever.
Like, you probably like slept the whole day?
Oh my gosh. I'm not even kidding. I was probably catching up on sleep for like 2 weeks. I'm not even kidding.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were going to say like 2 days.
No.
Oh, wow.
It was because I don't know what it is, but my body is just like, when I just overwork myself, when I crash really, really bad. So.
Because your body's like, let me like rest.
Really. I definitely did not get a day's sleep between those 4 days without a doubt.
No, I could imagine because it's like you already had a strict deadline, and then you didn't like the first 3 drafts you said.
Yeah, and so this happens with every project. Like even when I worked with like ESPN for College Game Day. The original draft that I did, it wasn't the final piece. I was just trying to get like my ideas on paper, but it just always happens as to where I'm like, I don't like what I'm working with. The project that's about to come out, I also
You didn't like the first draft.
I hated the first draft. I went through like 3 different drafts, and not even drafts, but 3 different concepts. I mean, like down to like scrapping it out. Like I was up till 5:30 2 days ago working on this, and missed class the next day because like I could.
you gotta sleep.
I had to. But the crazy thing is, I didn't even get to sleep. I didn't even miss class to sleep. I missed class to do more.
Oh, to work on it. Okay.
To do more work. Yeah. So, I mean, I was up so late, early, I should say, working on that piece. But I got literally midway, almost to the end of one of the pieces, and I got there, and I was like, I don't like this, and I literally scrapped it. I scrapped it. I started working on a new piece, and then I was like, I don't like this either, and I scrapped that. I started a new one, and that was my final one, and they were like, we absolutely love it. And so that's the things, like everyone sees the results, but people don't see what goes into
the process, the grind.
They don't see the process. And so I think that's why artists take the results so seriously. I'm trying to learn to detach myself from results to an extent, because I don't want validation or the lack thereof to be what motivates me or does not motivate me. I want it to always be like intrinsic and, you know, really just come from within, and that motivation to come from there. But people don't see what goes on behind closed doors, and they think it's a walk in the park. But
I always say that you don't know what someone's going through. I always say
that. It's so difficult with my coach drop. Like I did a draft for one piece, and they're like, "We can't use this," and I was like, "Oh, great!" So I literally went ahead and had to come up with another one. After that, I had to go in and like change the color, because they were like, "This probably like won't show up the way that we want it to on bag." So
on the bag, okay.
Right. So I literally had to like kind of not completely scrap it, but I had to revise it and, you know, add some more dimension to it and everything. But I'm like the queen of just throwing things away. Like, and I think part of it is overthinking, but part of it is also wanting to do my best work. And
because you're putting your name on it.
Right, exactly. And I think that I I don't think you can overanalyze it, but I analyze my market so much. Like these are like it's a blessing and a curse to be a marketing major, because not only do I understand the art aspect, but I understand the marketing aspect. So when I'm working with this shoe brand, or if I know that it has to do with sports in some way, I'm trying to put something out that's going to appeal to a certain target market and a certain age range, and, you know, certain demographics.
The business side of it, the marketing side of it, yeah.
And so when you are trying to incorporate the two, it's so hard to find that balance sometimes. And it's like, I love it and I love this piece, but this may not be the best way to communicate what I'm trying to communicate to this audience. And so you have to take a step back and look at your work outside of yourself and know how to reevaluate that. So I'd say that's probably why I end up scrapping, like completely, like I was almost at the finish line and I was like, I can't turn this in. I was proud of it, don't get me wrong, but I was like, given their audience, I don't think this is going to be something that resonates with them or catches their eye. And so I had to
sometimes you got to do that. If someone is interested in drawing, painting, or graphic design, where should they start?
I always say do your research, but when it comes to something like this, I honestly say just go for it. If you're looking for inspiration, like I like to just go on Pinterest, just to gather, you know, some inspiration beforehand and then dive into something. But if you're like just starting, literally just go for it. You know, you have time to figure out what your style is going to be, and, you know, how you're going to communicate your feelings or whatever it is that you know, want to put out. So I don't necessarily think that there's an exact way to go about something. I think it's about knowing yourself, being comfortable with yourself, and having that confidence within yourself to say, I'm going to give myself the grace and the space to learn as I go along.
If you can share, what's next for you? And what do you have anything to promote or plug? Or can you say what you are working on?
Okay, so I can't say much of what I'm working on, but I will have something out next week.
Nice. Okay.
Very big brand, which I'm really excited about.
Yes.
I guess I can talk about more like what I'm doing in my own time. Like I do want to release apparel soon. I actually am working on a greeting card line. I don't know if it's gonna like, I don't know how far I'm gonna go through with it because sometimes I get an idea and then I scrap it, which we've established.
Yes.
I really wanted to start a greeting card line just because I feel like, with COVID and everything, like it just really was a reminder of how short life can be. And I think that it's so important that we express our gratitude for each other and for other people. So I've always just felt like greeting cards were a great way to do so. And I was like, designing my own greeting card and having a campaign to go along with it, like would be a cool way to not only test my design skills, but also my marketing skills.
No, I love that.
Thank you.
I bought some of your Christmas
Yeah.
cards. They were so good. Like the Gucci Mane, the WAP, the Kamala Harris. It was so good. Gucci, East Atlanta Santa, Pop Smoke. It was so good.
I have so many, but
yes, they were so good. So a greeting card line seems perfect because those were postcards kind of.
Those are postcards.
Yeah.
Those were like postcards. But I don't want to do like seasonal ones. Like I don't want them to be anything having to do with holidays. I literally just want it to be like just because. Like I'm writing just because. Like I'm thankful for you, or just want to say thanks, want to check in, like that kind of thing.
Right.
And just because I just really feel like taking a moment to express your appreciation or gratitude for someone makes such a big difference, not only in your life, but in theirs.
Yes, not just when it's Christmas or Valentine's Day.
There doesn't have to be a reason to say thank you or to let someone know that you're thinking of them. No. So I'd say that's coming up. Like I said, I'm trying to do some apparel. I want to do a sticker line. I want to learn how to make rugs. We have a lot.
Okay. A lot of ideas, a lot of different mediums. I love that. Yeah. We just have some 5 TCP, the Cervantes Podcast rapid fire questions. This is my first time doing this. So my first one, what makes you laugh the most?
Oh, okay. My friends.
Your friends. Okay. 3 things you're grateful for.
3 things I'm grateful for. To be in DC right now, to be 21, doing all that I'm doing, and to have a relationship with God.
Love that. What would you tell your younger self?
I would tell my younger self that like you're gonna live up to who you want to be and you have nothing to worry about.
Yes. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I don't know. I don't like thinking that far ahead.
Okay. What would you name this current chapter of your life?
I would name this chapter The Come Up.
Love that. Love those answers. I like this. I can't wait to do this with more people. But thank you so much, Rachel, for taking the time out.
It's such a pleasure. And let me just say, okay, because you came prepared. I don't know. Are you a journalism major?
No, I'm a TV production major. So I'm not even in journalism. I just I want to be a TV producer. And my mom was like, you need to start a podcast. And I was like, I don't know. Like, let me do an Instagram live because back in quarantine, that's what everyone was doing. So I did that. I was like, oh, I'm only gonna do 5. Ended up doing 13. Wow. It was so fun. And then I was like, okay, maybe I am ready for a podcast. I said that in August. I didn't start till like January. I was kind of scared. But I was like, after a couple episodes, like I really like this, especially the one that I did with Evan and Sevi. I was like,
oh, I didn't see that one.
Yes, episode 6.
Okay, I'm gonna have to watch that because they are a trip.
Yes, they are. And even them, like they were like, you should start a podcast. And I was like, you know what? Like, let me just start already. But yeah, TV production. This is all really for fun.
Okay. You came prepared. I was like, he got the facts ready. Like, and there's just such a level of professionalism that you have. Like, I'm completely blown away.
Thank you.
Honestly, been such a pleasure. So thank you for having me.
Yes, I try to put effort into each question and to each episode. I don't want to just put like a filler. Thank you. I really appreciate that. You can follow Rachel on Instagram at @TheRealRJM and check out her website to shop her designs or read her blog post at www.therealrjm.com. Be sure to leave a rating for the Cervantes Podcast on Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Also, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on the Cervantes Podcast YouTube channel and click the notification bell up top so you're notified whenever I upload a new episode. Thank you guys for listening. Have a good one.